2011 when I bought my first house in Mumbai. When you get married, the next question is, when are you going to have?
Right.
And I was a little this thing that just bought a house, worked really hard, just got married, I wanted to have my own time.
That Michelle Obama hosts. The guest was Barack Obama, and the conversation was around boys. She said, "We love our sons and we raise our daughters."
We had a miscarriage in 2022
Got it.
when we were trying. It gives you a little bit of a jolt saying that not everything can go the way you want it to go. Life is all about planning, but life is all what happens when it happens.
Life happens when you are planning.
Exactly. God's way of giving you a message. Dude, cool down. There's no point. It's a race. You need to keep running. The minute she's lying down on the bed, that's the time she's wanting to talk to you.
Right.
When you're completely sapped out at the end of the day, that's the time she wants to share everything.
About the day. I took a 6-month break last year. I absolutely loved it.
Reading about this person who's retired, and he was like, what do I do? I'm only counting my meals.
When you feel needed by your kids and when they're sick, they come to you, I swell with pride.
Yes.
This is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Thank
Amazing thing that you're doing to get dads to speak up. I think it's the best decision to make so that you can be called Chief Dad Officer.
you. Yeah, I love that. I love that headline of yours. Ajay, thanks for joining me in this conversation.
Absolutely, Subhashish. I mean, it's glad you reached out, and happy to do this. I think it's going to be a fun conversation. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. After hearing your story of your life story, your fatherhood story is definitely intrigued a lot, and I would love to share this with our audience. Of course, you've gone through your own journey of being a father twice, and your own journey as a human being, as a husband, as a father. There's a lot to unpack today.
Yeah. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So let's start with your first, brush with fatherhood. How you came to that decision of becoming a dad, you and your wife, right? I know when we were talking offline, you shared that you're not fully there for some time, and at some point you're ready to be a dad. What was that journey like?
So, it's a little bit of a backstory to that. I come from a very, very large family of, like my dad's side, 6 brothers, 4 sisters, each one with 2 kids. So we were like, at any given time on a summer holiday, we'd be with cousins, so 30, 35, 40 cousins.
Right.
Spread all across, of course, and, they're in different parts of the country, some in the US. Some, we only recently met with when one of our cousins got married last year. So it's crazy that, you have cousins in different parts of the world, but you haven't even met them. You're
right.
already, you're at 40 and you're meeting one of your cousins when you're 40 years old. But yeah, I think, and so we've obviously been, so it's a different kind of a childhood when you have that bigger family to see around when you're moving around, summer vacations, holidays, etc. Right? So you will always be with family and cousins and stuff like that. And then I think from my memory of what I have from my childhood, of course, it's my dad was always working, so service life, and pretty much in Mumbai. So I'm born in Mumbai. He had a bit of a stint in Gujarat for about 3-4 years, and then back in Mumbai.
Sure.
And I think so I have a brother, older brother. He's based in the US. He went to the US at a very young age, when I was around my 10th grade. And so he's been there ever since, starting working, married. He has 3 daughters as well. So
right.
Yeah, so we have 5 daughters in this family. And so, the memories that we have of, of parenting, if I could say, of course, at that time, parents were very mindful, frugal, wanted to give and plan for, give the best and plan for. So the best of education, we studied in missionary schools, but very frugal living as well.
Sure.
Because they would always plan for the rainy day, and and of course I think all of that kind of filters down, right? So we see at least the life that we've got now is a little comfortable,
right?
That bit of
that was the previous generation of parents.
Exactly. And this was exactly true of that, right? So then that's why some of these life decisions that you can take now is because of that.
True.
They lived with that frugality and they provided for. So, but yes, so when you're frugal, comes that fact that parents are mom is obviously the caregiver throughout, and then dad's the breadwinner, and so then you have that sense of strictness that kind of comes through by default, and then you have the pressure of performing, and that time you don't have extracurricular activities, study, and that's the route. And so that's a little bit of how I kind of came up. And I think when the time came when I said, let's get married and, start a family, that was, I think, roughly, I remember very clearly, 2011, when I bought my first house in Mumbai.
Right.
And that was the condition. I said, I'll get married when I know that I can have a house.
Right.
And because that's where you want to take the next step. That happened, and then of course you have the various portals where profiles went and conversations happened, and that's how I kind of met my now wife. So we got married in 2012, and then when you get married, the next question is, when are you going to have?
Right.
And I was a little this thing that just bought a house, worked really hard, just got married. I wanted to have my own time.
Sure.
To kind of soak it all in, because literally bought the house in 2011, took possession 2012 April, and then married in November 2012. So that all happened very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So, and then we just kind of, so I was apprehensive, like I mentioned, that I wanted to have some time.
Yeah, I hear
for
you.
us.
Yeah, I mean, I was sharing with you. Me and my wife, we're in the same journey. We didn't want to have any children for the longest time, and then slowly it morphed, and we took a decade to come to that conclusion. So I hear you.
I all credit to my wife. She's like, there's a couple of things that we need to get straight, and this is one. We need to start thinking and planning. And my first daughter was born 2016, December 2016, and I think like typically how it is, right? Mothers tend to be the default support for kids, and as a dad, I think I almost went into the same mode that my father was, right? That you need to be able to provide for, plan for, everything that needs to go around, thinking of secure and safe, soft landing for the child. And that's how my brain started working as well, right? That responsibility. And so obviously, I spent more time thinking, working, trying to figure out how we can, optimize on resources, costs, etc., earn more
financial
money.
well-being.
Absolutely. So I went to that kind of a mode, and I don't think I was there as much as I should have been there.
Got it.
While my older daughter was growing up. Of course, I think, not to say I did change diapers, did have those sleepless nights, all of those was there, but I think, like I said, right, the mind was probably...
You didn't think you could be fully present.
Exactly.
Right.
Even though I might have been, but probably been wandering, thinking, okay, I got to do something else. I need to fix this. I need to fix that.
Yeah.
That's how the mind would probably be always. So I don't know. I mean,
Was it did it change over a period of time, like as time went on?
So I think what happened is, like I said, I got into so much of that mode that I realized that I was becoming a little bit of a strict father.
Interesting.
Right? And which is very different. Like when...
In the sense, how
So in terms of, like, for example, as she got into school and 4th grade, 4 years, so 1st grade and things like that, I just felt like my expectation of perfection was a little too high.
Interesting.
And I think that's the learning for me, that some things that, and my wife keeps saying, you learn to let go.
Sure.
They're children, they're going to grow. And so it's been a bit of a journey for me. I haven't been the best, I don't know, I mean, hand to heart, I haven't been the best dad. I've probably been a very strict dad. And I think I want to undo that.
We'll get to the next phase.
Next phase, yeah.
Staying in this phase, you said I became a strict dad. Like what did it look like when you said it?
I mean, I don't know. I think the constant thing of doing things the right way. And of course, what is the right way is obviously questionable, right?
Sure.
But that constant thing of being right at the first go, being perfect the first time.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I think I kind of put that. I don't know where that pressure came from and why I...
Were you raised in that way in some sense?
I'm not too sure. I mean, like I said, right? So if it's dance, of course, we didn't have too many classes. We just went to school, came back, and that's it, right? That was our childhood.
I mean,
for example,
growing up, I pretty much, and there's a way, there's a big conversation as well, boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, actually, I was listening to a podcast that Michelle Obama hosts, and the guest was Barack Obama, and the conversation was around boys, how to raise boys. And one of the sayings she said, which stayed with me, is that she said, "We love our sons and we raise our daughters." You see the difference? And I know what she was saying. I never heard it this way. When you say it this way, it's like, yes. In other words, there is almost this perfectionism expectation from girls that you don't really have from boys. Now, you don't have boys, but I don't know if I hear what you're saying.
And
Girls have this spotlight on them to be right, to everything look right, and dress right.
And I'm guilty of it. And that's exact. And I'm guilty of being that parent, of being that person.
A lot of people.
A lot of people. And like I said, and that's the realization. That now, of course, like you can say it in hindsight, but that point in time, I was like, things have to be done in a particular way, and of course, I would. I don't know. I don't want to blame work on this, but work is work, right? But maybe it kind of absorbs you a little bit too much, and then it kind of shows, right? And that kind of, and the kind of profession I'm in, right? There is very more eye on detail. There's more
very little room for error.
Very little room for error. Thank you. And so that's, I think, it just kind of comes with that. And it's like, that pressure I felt, I passed it on.
Thanks for sharing. I mean, it's not easy to share your own misgivings and
and what you said right now with the podcast it kind of summarizes that in one line that you are. That's, I don't know, and where it's coming from, right? For even to be surprised in that line, I don't know how that's come into me, because I don't have a sister, and it's not that I've seen that happen, but it's just come in. It's
societal.
Just come inside me. I don't know. It's not like it's not that I would have wanted to, but now that I've realized that it's probably you put your foot off the pedal. That's the learning for me, and so that happened. And then of course she grew up. She's a beautiful, very smart, sensitive girl, and as we were thinking, this whole thing of she needs to have company, and because all her cousins are abroad,
right,
and she's so we thought, okay, let's, and then the pandemic came, so we said, okay, let's and my wife is a microbiologist. She can see organisms everywhere, so she was very, very this thing that let this thing settle down, let's not get into a hospital for anything during these times. So but
and then you had a major health event, right?
So just prior to that, actually, they had this. We had a miscarriage in 2022 when we were trying, and I think that kind of it gives you a little bit of a jolt, saying that not everything can go the way you want it to go. Life is all about planning, but life is all what happens when it happens.
Life happens when you are planning.
Exactly, and that's exactly what happened. Like, and you were just taken aback. It was like, how come us? That's the same question, right? Why us?
Why me?
How did it happen?
Yeah.
And so that happened, we gave time to ourselves to kind of just get back, collect our lives. And then 2023...
how did your wife cope with how was that period?
It was tough. Like I said, right, I mean, again, as just being the partner who has a very external view or sense of this, right? What is happening internally is only they can experience. It's very difficult for us to
even try to
assimilate, what they are going through. But it was a tough time. She's a very strong person mentally.
It's also, I think, another topic that I've had one of my team members go through this experience, his wife and them as a couple. It's one topic that's, again, doesn't get talked about much, the implications, the psychological impact for working professionals.
Yes.
It leaves a big toll on you. But I don't think the world around you appreciates what you want.
Absolutely. And like I said, right, and it's more so for women in this, because it's like I said, what's happening inside, and the whole emotional aspect of it. Anyways, men, I mean, I don't want to say that men are slightly less emotional, right? But to see the whole thing and see your partner go through it, it's very, very emotionally draining. You can, I mean, for me it was tough, but you could obviously put it aside, focus on and where that pressure came from, and why I. Right, then you can take your partner along with you.
Sure.
I think I played that role. And then in 2023, when we were thinking about it again, we said, it so happened that I got dengue in the towards the end of 2023, August 2023 to be precise. And that was a life-changing moment for me, because that was the first time I ever needed to be hospitalized. Platelets were dropping like no one's business. I had almost hit 15,000 platelets, and little did I know that I was actually moving around in the hospital because of the steroids that was keeping me up. I was obviously...
That's pretty low platelet count.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it because I was fine, doctors coming and checking, are you bleeding on your nose? Is there any other spots that you're seeing? I'm like, no, I'm absolutely fine. I don't know what the reports are saying, but I don't feel anything. And at that point in time, I didn't realize it was actually the steroids talking. So anyway, so that happened, and then I kind of started getting better, and then started getting restless, saying that I wanted to get out of here. The day that I left the hospital, I was like, I got home. That journey from the hospital to the house was so draining that I landed, I crashed in my bed. I was out for 12 hours straight. And when I woke up, I was feeling like this is not my body. I just couldn't pick myself up.
Right.
Because the steroids had worn off, the effect of it. And I was like, what's going on? Why is it taking? And the recovery from that point on was roughly about a month, because it was every day 5-minute activities and then 50 minutes break. That just kind of felt like I was a completely different person, like from the guy who was 15 days back. And that's when I realized that I probably just touched the other side of the world and came back.
You almost felt like you were going to die, right?
Because that day when I got off the bed, I was like, what's going on with my body? I mean, like, everything is fine. You're absolutely healthy. 10 days in hospital, everything gets reversed completely, that you feel like you hired a body to move around in.
That's crazy.
And that's when I kind of said that.
It can be emotionally pretty...
Yeah, because like I said, my first time in a hospital, unfortunately, I've just been to a hospital only once when my aunt was really unwell. I've never had to be in a hospital situation, and then to be in that same bed and to kind of, do this kind of experience and come back was life-changing for me. And so that's when I kind of decided I'm going to slow down a little bit. Because like I said, the mind is always supercharged. You're always thinking and you're always trying to figure out things, and that you want to be in control. Yeah. But that's the moment that you realize that you have no control on. If you can't control your body, what are you controlling, right? And that's when we learned about. My wife didn't tell me, of course, when I was in the hospital. But when we got home, she told me that looks like we're going to have our second child. And that's when I kind of said that this is going to be a different, because I did have realizations of some of these, being a strict father, and like I said, right, this whole thing of being a perfection, drawing more perfectionism out of my daughter. I said I'm going to use this as a way to change myself and be that dad that I should have been and obviously with both the girls now.
Yeah, that's a really profound realization that life led you to. I mean, just listening to the story, your health, your own assessment of yourself as a dad, first-time dad, and that's this near-death, life-changing experience.
Moment. Not many people know about this actually.
So. And then becoming the opportunity to become a dad again had a new insight for you.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, right, I think the fact that you reach that point where you realize that, what are we chasing? If this one incident of a 5-6 day hospitalization could bring you to a point that there was no return from there. So then what is the mind really chasing? What are you trying to get to? Right? And then when you learn of this, maybe it is God's way of giving you a message that, dude, cool down. There's no point. It's not a race that you're going to run and win. It's a race. You need to keep running. Right? And if you're going to have the healthy heart, mind, people, everything around you, that's where it's going to be worth it. Because otherwise you're just going to be... So I think that's where that kind of came through. And I decided in my mind that I'm going to mend what I did not do right as a dad.
That's beautiful.
To be the right dad, for both my girls. And
so it's just a quiet sort of...
Yeah. It was just me mostly internally, and then I think as the year progressed, everything was going well.
You didn't share that with your wife or anybody?
No, she wasn't aware of this, that it was playing in my mind, because like I said, right, I think maybe she also, like I said, right, if she wouldn't have forced me, I would have probably been at home, and this would have been completely a different. I wouldn't be sitting here,
right?
So the fact that she did that, and I kind of in many ways owe it to her, because like she's been the one who is keeping it all together, right? And I owe it to her and of course the kids to make sure that I don't repeat what mistake I made, both on my health as well as being the dad that I was, right? So I wanted to fix that. Maybe this was God's way of saying, here's your opportunity. You've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
And for it to happen at the same time, right? That I come back out of hospital and then my wife says, I think we need to check. Yes, because, we missed a date. Need to figure this one out. So, and then...
It's pretty uncanny.
Yes. So, which is why I was like, and it was pretty much in my mind that we do this. But it was obviously a little, like I said, right, we had the 2022 thing, and then this was also a little bit of a stressful pregnancy, because the first one was also a C-section and this one had to be another C-section, and we had this constant check on the stitch line of her first pregnancy. So, which is exactly why this was like constant monitoring and checking. So it was a little stressful as well, and which is why I was even more convinced that I need to be there more available than what I was in the first time. So
good for you. That's a great... not everybody will come to that conclusion, so I feel like you should be grateful that you came to that realization. Sometimes these whispers come from the universe, right?
They're just signs. I think I think it was just that at that moment I picked it up and I was like, let's not waste this.
It's an opportunity.
This is an opportunity. Let's just and that's when I kind of said that I'm gonna give my best to from now on. Some of the things that I had always thought of in my mind, that I want my kids to go back to, have a space where they feel like they're back. Like we had our village home, right? Jamshedpur is where my parents are from, where my grandparents are. I obviously have only memory of my nanny and doing all our summer holidays with her, spending as much time as we could. But, touch wood, my kids have our grandparents with us, right? So they're staying together. On my wife's side, grandparents are in Delhi, so that bit of travel happens. But I just wanted them to have this space where they have this opportunity to call their, sort of summer home sort of vibe. So I used the time that I took off after Ashvi was born to.
So when did you break the news to your wife that you decided to take a career break?
After I took the break.
Wow.
Yeah. Which she's still upset with me. She was just telling me, you better tell this because I'm upset that you didn't tell me about this. But yeah, I think, sometimes when you have these things and, like I said, you're trying to figure out finances and things like that, how things are going to work. And it's not easy to get to that decision. But I think when I knew that I was at a stage where I can make that decision, I thought I'll take it because I didn't want to pass the pressure on to her to say that, that means I can't extend my leave. I need to get back to work. And I didn't want that to be.
Were you worried that she may change your mind?
I just didn't want her to take the pressure. I know she would have supported it. So it was not about she saying, no, don't do it. It was more about she thinking that
the burden is on her.
Yeah, it should. Right. I just didn't want her to think that, you
Sure.
have to work. I was like, it's completely your call if you want to. I'm the one who kind of feels that she can be. She takes a little bit of a back seat. Don't kill me for this when you see this. But I'm the one who kind of tells her that you have the potential to do much more. I would want to see her more successful than take this back seat kind of a role, which is not the case. Because like I said, she's led from the front. In all cases, from a life standpoint, she's the sounding board that I've had for all decisions. This one was the only one that I didn't let her know of until I kind of
I'm sure
put
she'll
pens down.
forgive you because it's the right thing for you guys, I guess. And it's played out well.
I said, because like I said, it was a tough journey till the time she was born. And then, of course, even the recovery took some time, given the stress around to the end of the journey. To be around for that and to be able to give more time after. I think that would have been different if I would have still been, at work.
So we'll talk about two things here. I mean, I want to pull a couple of threads from this, right? Because it's very, very relevant for a lot of professionals. As I talk to a lot of dads and moms, a lot of people are grappling with these choices.
Yep.
Dad's availabilities at home,
Yep.
the financial, collective financial situation at home. First, what did you change about your being a dad with Ashwi coming in, your second child coming in? What changes did you make?
So I think, basically in terms of just being available, just taking that, of course, there are some things that dads can't do. That's a given. But everything else was completely on me. She would be with me all the time. So much so that now, if somebody asked me what have I earned by not working, it would be the fact that if Ashwi is looking more for me than for her mother, that's what I've earned. Right. And I think...
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because that's something that I like I said, I'm guilty of not, of not doing it with Arshi. So, but yeah, and that's what I wanted to do. It was just spending more time with both kids, basically, right? So, Ashwi was born April, the older one. Arshi's summer vacation started. So, we were all together when Ashwi was born, right? Throughout the summer, we were there, playing, doing everything that we would with a newborn, right? And capturing all those memories, everything. So I'm in every memory now of, with Ashwi.
Right.
The Defacto photographer, like I was saying, a little bit of photography that I do is now taking pictures of my kids. Yes. So, all the monthly birthday milestones, pictures and planning for it. Of course, again, like I said, I don't want to take the credit away from my wife. She's the one who will be, okay, this is the theme and this is what we're going to do this time. But yeah, the Defacto, it wouldn't be a come back in the evening and we'll do the photograph in the evening. It would happen any time in the day now that I was available. So a lot of these things which, I think was more, if I would say, part of the process, I have to come and take a picture.
Right.
After I finish my work today, I have to go and take a picture. To being part of the planning process and doing that. So I'm just giving you an example of
the contrasting the...
Just like from what I would do, I would get in, take the picture and done. Okay, fine. Let's... to now being a part of the process and, all the planning, and then you have a very active 7-year-old who wants to give her ideas and throw in a couple of things into the frame and say, can we put this, can we put that? So that was a very good experience to experience end to end.
Right.
Right. And all throughout the year. So till we did the first birthday in April, at 12 months. I mean, I'm just seeing photography as one of the things, but
And
but just to say,
what did this teach you? Teach you as a dad last year that you hadn't sort of experienced with the first, with the older one?
I think like how you said it, right? Like life happens when you're planning.
Right.
I think the fact that we didn't plan, we just let life be and enjoyed what it had to offer to us. I think that's the biggest, I think, takeaway from, I don't want to say stepping away from work, but the fact that you could give more time to family. And this is exactly what would, I think, remain as memory, especially with the older one now that she's 8 and she's been through this entire, of course, seeing dad around more often is a bit of a thing for her as well. She's like, why is dad not going to office? How come this work from home is going on for so long? So, but I think just that is irreplaceable.
Yeah, this conversation reminds me of another similar conversation I had with a dad who came to this realization of a career break from another situation. I think he was sitting with the principal of his daughter, and the principal asked what is her hobby, and he had no clue. And he literally had this moment of truth in his life, and he decided to just let go of his work. One of the things he told me about, like after he was planning to get back to work, like is that whatever you learn during that break, it's not like when you stop the break all those habits go away. Like you bring them along with you.
Absolutely, it continues.
That's one thing that I wanted to capture for folks who are curious. Like, okay, I'll take a break if I can afford to, but what happens after I go back? Is everything going to go away?
So it's very interesting, right? I mean, we talked about this a little bit, and I think just for the benefit of folks out there. So there are two sides of the break. One is when you plan to take the break, you need to be financially sound.
Sure.
There's no doubt about it, and that of course there is a parallel revenue stream, whether it's your partner, whether it's any other source of revenue. That needs to be something that's a default. Breaks sound nice, but at the end of the day, that needs to not have any repercussions in your lifestyle.
Sure.
Right. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is, of course, and that's what I'm experiencing right now, is conversations where people say that you've taken a break and you want to get back, but you're not going to be, you need to pare your expectations down a little bit in terms of how, what you were at and what you're going to be. And that's kind of it's a bit of a reality. I think it's but that's something that you need to also. Having said that, I think, like I said, what have you, in terms of what did you gain from the break? I think the fact that you got so much time, which otherwise is literally measured when you're, and it's living weekend to weekend. I think that it's not something that you can quantify, in terms of value.
Yeah.
It's just, so I think that it's memories for me as well. I mean, I'm sure the kids will remember. And
did you face any social sort of, change in how people were looking at you? Did you have any...
So I mean, I've been blessed with
challenges.
I've been blessed with very, very good friends who've kind of called in to just check, saying everything is okay. And in fact, very recently, we spent the weekend together. A friend of mine was like, I just called to check. You're not actively hunting, or what's going on? Is everything fine? Are you? And I mean, 2 ex-colleagues very distinctly kind of, I've had that conversation with them, and so I think people know you.
Yeah.
They know that you bring value to whatever you do, right? Be that if you've taken this decision, there's obviously been a lot of thought.
Sure.
And for me, I had like I said, the life-changing moment, and then the clarity came to me from, and that's, I think, typically, like I said, it sounds cliched, but I think that's the reality of it. That's when reality hits you a little bit. That what are you running? What are you chasing? What are you trying to get to? Right. So I think I've been a little bit blessed in that sense that I didn't have that pressure. Of course, my dad. Sorry. If he's going to watch this, he's obviously been like, it's all okay, but you need to be.
He's not fully convinced.
He's not absorbed it fully.
Right.
Again, like I said, I kept a lot of people in the dark because I wanted it to be completely my decision. I didn't want to make it look like, I told you guys, and then why did you guys, then you share the load, and I didn't want to do that. This was purely my decision to make, because I wanted to fix some things which I knew in my mind was not done correctly. And if I had that realization, if I didn't do anything about it, then that would be on me, and completely stupid to not fix.
Right.
So
And I'm curious to know, how did your relationship with your older one change? I mean, it's because she's a single constant, right, between these two phases of your
of me, yes,
of your parent being a parent. What changed, and how did she? Do you think? I mean, of course, you can't speak for her, but
I mean, I would think so. Like you mentioned about hobbies and things like that. I think I fully
and also
know
about that perfectionism.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know.
And this is actually thanks to my wife to let things go.
Yeah.
Let them be. The kids, everything will be fine when it's time. So of course, it's all credit to my wife to kind of. I think a lot of these silent, very calm conversations. Like I said, right, if your mind is elsewhere, there's no conversation happening.
True.
Right? So even though she would tell me the same thing when I was not taking a break, it would hit me, but it would bounce off.
Yeah.
But now it stayed. A lot of it stayed from the time. I think a lot of the realization happened from the time that the bounce back happened.
It's a very real point you're making. I'm constantly trying to hold myself to that. Break or not, the idea of being present, because mostly your mind is racing somewhere else.
Absolutely.
A lot of things that kids do around you, like on one level, it's sort of
breaks the.
No,
yeah,
it's I mean actually it's if you like she's playing or she's asking something for some reason, I don't know, for society, whatever reasons, you don't feel like they deserve that complete undivided attention, right? You feel like you can multitask while you are having a conversation with your child, which is absolutely wrong. Right, so the point of
that's exactly,
she told me something and you tell me, but it'll bounce off.
Yeah,
I face that every day and constantly have to remind myself, no, there's something, and then
this is important.
Right.
Yes.
It is the biggest thing in their life that they're trying to communicate.
Absolutely.
To you.
Like we are doing a DIY project right now.
Right. Yeah.
Just right now, like I was leaving, she came jumping. She's like, "Papa, it's ready. Why don't you have a look at it before you leave?"
Yeah. Just look at it.
Just look at it. That's it. And so I was like, okay. And I was like literally dashing because I knew we were on racing against time. I said, no, I'll give it a second. Let me have a look at it, give my thoughts, take the credit for the idea that I gave her, and then kind of walk. But like you said, right, any other time, I would have probably, because I would have had 10 other things on my head.
Yeah.
Plus I have this whole weekend project that's on my head as well. So that's like, but to have that mind space and to be able to share that mind space, I think that's more important.
Yeah.
That's the biggest learning that, they want to have just ears to listen. And she's at that age where she wanted a couple of pairs of ears to listen to, because she'll not tell you when you want her to tell you. Her active time frame is dinner done, ready for bed. The minute she's lying down on the bed, that's the time she's wanting to talk to you.
Right.
When you're completely sapped out at the end of the day, that's the time she wants to share everything
about the day.
Everything about the day.
Yeah.
And you're chasing her 6 o'clock in the evening, saying, okay, how was your day? What happened? Tell me. I'm too tired. I don't want to say anything. Can we talk later? Blah, blah, blah. And then, so to be able to give that time, I think that's some of the learnings that we both as parents have had, and now with second one, you're obviously exhausted.
Yeah, you're
right. And to be able to, so to be able to, so we can take that load off each other. And
I mean, the fact that, again, going back to the same podcast, and I highly recommend you listen to that. Again, Michelle Obama, she talks about creating space when they are ready.
Yeah.
They're not going to tune into your schedule.
Yep.
Like you ask them in the dinner table, like, tell me about your day. They're not there. So you can't
tweak them.
Design your...
Yep. Absolutely not.
So you have to have that space and appetite to listen to them when they're ready.
Yeah. And like, how we'd say, like, for example, Saturday, Sunday, beach day, we want to go out somewhere, etc. She's got a completely different, no, I want to do my DIY project today. Okay, we're supposed to go to the beach. What happened? It's like, no, I want to do my DIY project today. Okay, fine. Okay, we'll rewire everything. I'm busy cutting cardboards in the morning at 8 o'clock, trying to make her DIY project. And so, but yeah, I think it's just about, not giving them that. And, if I look at myself a couple of years back when Arshi was that, I would have said, no, let's do this right now.
This
has been planned. Right. We are going to the beach today. Today is Saturday. Less crowd, so we do it today. So that would have been the thing. But I mean, I'm just taking an example,
this is really, really insightful for a lot of parents who might be listening or watching. The shift in minds. I think, these life events does teach you
takes
a lot.
you things you take for granted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, time is absolutely something that we take for granted. Yeah, and especially kids' time, this is the memory that they're going to have, right? Like I said, this is a hard realization. Of course, I hope she doesn't remember that phase of me being that strict father, and she has a better memory of this now. But yeah, I think it's never late. Make the most of this time that you have with with your kids, and I think don't plan.
Shifting lens a little bit, while with all these benefits, I'm pretty sure, I took a 6 months break last year. I absolutely loved it. I would do it anytime. I would do it over and over again. But there were some moments of doubt, some dark moments, questioning where you're going to go with this, particularly being a man, right? That idea that wiring doesn't go away. At times, I remember a couple of instances where I became very defensive in a conversation with my wife, not because she meant to say anything about what I was asking, what I was choosing to do, but I had this self-imposed feeling that I'm not earning anymore, and she's coming at this situation from that angle, and I became defensive, and we had a bit of a fight, and we had these moments, and it was a hard moment for me, tough moment, almost to the extent I'm like, I'm going to end this break and start making money again. You have this sort of inner backlash.
Right.
Have you experienced any of that stuff?
So, to be very honest, I think very recently it's kind of coming up a little bit. So, I think one of the ways to keep sanity, right, is to have the mind working on something. I obviously decided to take up a little bit of a project. Like I said, I wanted my kids to have this sense of home away from home. So I don't like this concept of holiday homes and things like that. I just wanted something where the kids have availability of space, place to run around, place to call their own space.
Where they can create their memories.
Exactly. And they do what they want. I mean, here, when you live in matchboxes, you want to keep everything as much as possible organized, clean, etc., right? Because you have a kid at home. But that was one place that I wanted to build where they could do whatever they want. And that was one of the things that I had. Again, I wanted to do it a really long time back, of course, finances, everything else. But I wanted to build this place for them too. So that was one of the things that kept me sane and a little away from the fact that I'm not earning. And now that it's coming to completion, I'm getting that sort of thing. I was like, now what next? Yeah, what next? And I think it's more about, so like I said, right, as I'm talking to, people who are reaching out for opportunities and things like that, and as I'm sharing, I can sense the urgency in my wife to pick something up, right? So it's not, we haven't reached a phase where, like I said, blessed with the frugality of my parents, very honestly, that we are able to take decisions like this of taking a break and not having to worry. And to say that, not that we are having a very elaborate or a very lavish lifestyle. We ourselves are very mindful of, managing money and things like that. But I think that has given me the long rope that I can take this decision at the time that I want to take it, right? And also do something which would keep me engaged and not, sort of meander and think in a different line or start thinking like, oh, I need to start earning money. It helped. Right. So you need to have something. It's almost like reading about this person who's retired and he was like, what do I do? I'm only counting my meals. I'm only, planning my jogs and walks. And the reality is that if you don't have something to keep your mind at, it's going to be tough. And that's exactly what helped. I kept this thing that I wanted to do. I got it done. And now the itch is coming to get back. So I think it's about keeping the mind occupied. And then your partner is going to be occupied as well, right? Because you're building it together, right? It's not something. So I think keeping the partner engaged, that was one thing. And then, like I said, I think just you need to have the financial wherewithal to be able to.
That's important.
And that's very important.
That's important.
Absolutely, yes.
You have to take that off the table,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So that you are actually...
that shouldn't be a discussion at all.
Absolutely.
Because then that kind of just throws everything off. Because then that's where the pressure kicks in. Like, oh, you need to get back to work. This is not going to work out anymore. So that, I think, is a very important lever, in this, especially in this equation. The equation. And if you're taking that decision or you're in that space to make that decision, then that's a very important one to keep in mind. Right. It should be able to give you a runway. I don't want to say endless, but at least not something that you need to stress about. So,
Now, given a choice, would you do this again, or would you do it anything differently?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not the kid again. No, I'm good with two.
Not the dengue either.
Not the dengue for sure. Oh my God, I don't want to get into a hospital ever again. And I wouldn't wish this for no enemies in life. I wouldn't wish this for anyone to kind of go through. I mean, hospitalization, I don't think anybody should ever have to go through, but life is life. But the break, yes. Again, we definitely want to say this. If financially possible, I think it's the best decision to make so that you can be called chief dad officer.
Yeah, I love
back
that.
At home.
I love that headline of yours.
Yeah, so I was like, it's so surprising. I worked 20 years. I don't think I would have ever done a podcast from my work. Right. But to be doing a podcast as a dad around it was obviously thanks to you. But
no, of course.
I was like telling my wife, I was like, we're not going to talk about work. We're going to talk about the fact that about you and the 3 girls in my life.
Yeah. No, I mean, I believe that we need to have more of this conversation,
Absolutely.
Which has been one of the anchors and north stars of my mission, because, we all, your story, my story, there's a lot of similarities, and a lot of dads that I've talked to over these years, there's a lot more we can do, and we also need to give us men and dads the gift of that same bonding, the memories, the relationships that historically, moms have been able to. It's not about moms or dads, moms against dads or dads against. It's about both.
Just balancing it out for the kids. Yes.
Yeah, and then the children. I've seen every time. Children, like you said, my kids come to me saying, "Daddy, I need this." When you feel needed by your kids, and when they're sick, they come to you. I swell with pride.
Yes.
I'm like,
absolutely.
wow, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah, it just makes it
God
all worth
knows,
it.
when I was a kid, I never went to my dad. Nothing wrong with him, but I never went to my dad.
That's absolutely true.
So when my kids come running to me, sometimes my wife will also look at, wow, they're going to him. I think this conversation is important.
Absolutely. And I just want to kind of really say that, and I mentioned this to you as well, right? There's so much of things that play on, I don't want to say a man's mind, but really fathers' minds, right?
Yeah.
Or just general. Like I said, right? The things that really come to you when you become a father, right? It's a completely different thing. I'm not saying women are not oriented that way, but it just dawns on you, right? And you do it silently.
Right.
You're not doing it, not that, like I said, right? There are some things which are visual. Unfortunately, what is in our mind is not visual. It's in our minds, and we live with it, we breathe it, we are literally going through it. So this sort of, I think what you do, it's really, I think it's going to be helpful. I'm surprised that I didn't know about this, that you're doing this, but it's an amazing thing that you're doing to get dads to speak up. Because I don't think, that's done enough. Right. That dads come and talk about, like I said, for me, the guilt of being a strict father, and to reverse that. Nobody would know it, right? Because friends, family, they see you for a couple of hours and they're off, right?
Yeah.
The reality of what your kids see, or what your wife sees, or what your parents, if they're staying with you, see is completely different, right?
Yeah.
And I know even my mom, she keeps telling me, that you've been too hard, you're being too strict, you're being too... So to get all that learning and to share it.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of dads would this resonates with a lot of dads. It resonated with me as well. There are times when I want things in certain ways, and later on you'll think like, what was I thinking there, right?
Yes.
And these stories, these conversations, I'm hoping that somewhere it
hits home,
shifting something in some dads' minds.
Yes, absolutely. And it's amazing that you're doing this. Seriously, hats off.
Thank you.
Which is why you reached out.
No, I appreciate you coming
this.
on in a short notice, and I absolutely would do it again. I would love to.
I'd love to follow your journey,
this conversation
by the way.
For sure.
Yes, it'd be amazing to follow through. In fact, I know my wife was, when I was getting ready to come here, she hadn't seen it. She hadn't seen your work, but she was seeing it, and she was like telling me, she's like, you better say a couple of these things, okay? Because this is very true. I'm like, okay. I said, I want to tell my story, but thank you for giving me the mic.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for sharing your story, and particularly the ones that are not easy to share. That's what I'm looking at. Creating this space for, because God knows we are not very comfortable in having this difficult conversation.
Absolutely.
Particularly us men.
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Thanks, Ajay.
Thank you so much
for coming, and looking forward to continuing this.
Yeah, absolutely. All the best to you, to Dadsense, and you just keep hitting it out of the park, man. It's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.